Greetings, Vermont Law School, Fall Term 2. Welcome everyone to Restorative Justice in Indigenous Communities. Welcome, you all are in the right place. Thank you so much. And in the words of Jay-Z, allowed me to reintroduce myself as I share in the Oneida language of my family. So, Sagoli, Nadioliwus, Skanagoga, Skanago, Wugnukta ni Wagitalota, Oneida Aga ni Ugwe ni lah-gway-dee-oh ni Yugyuks. And in Oneida, I just said, greetings, what is the news? Are you with peace? I am with peace. I am Turtle Clan, I am people of the Standing Stone, I am Oneida, and my Oneida name means he is a good man. It is an honor to be with you here all, to teach you and to learn from you all as we talk about restorative justice in Indigenous communities. I'm grateful for all my ancestors and relatives of us. I am also English, Irish, and German, part of my heritage. And I'm also a dual citizen as I'm a member of the Oneida Nation, which is part of the Haudenosaunee, also known as the Six Nations or as the Iroquois, and the French would say. And it is an honor to be with you here and to be speaking with you all. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in Southern California, grew up around Orange County, California in Santa Ana. And then I went to Pepperdine University in Malibu, California for my undergraduate, studied communication. I got my master's in public administration and a certificate in American Indian Studies from Cal State Long Beach. And then I got my PhD from University of San Diego, where I did my dissertation on Oneida college lacrosse players and our perspectives of the sacred game of lacrosse. So I love lacrosse. My great-grandfather used to play lacrosse and went to school with Jim Thorpe at Carlisle Indian School. So speaking of Carlisle Indian School, that's how I got introduced to restorative justice here, was learning to heal through intergenerational trauma. So for those of you who have heard of, maybe you have not heard of, but the Indian boarding schools, there were over 360 of those starting in 1879, and they started in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And from there, also Canada modeled their Indian residential schools off our Indian boarding schools, where there were over 130 in Canada. So far, after just searching a half a dozen or more different of these Indian boarding schools and Indian residential schools, I believe the number is 6,504 Indian children have been found. So I tell you this not to make you feel bad or sad, but to educate you and to recognize that this tool of restorative justice can be used to talk about some really heavy and hard things, and to be able to express ourselves and hold space for people as they're telling stories that oftentimes they've never been able to tell before, these survivors of genocide, the survivors of boarding school. I'm what is referred to as a third generation survivor of the Indian boarding school program. So I am grateful to be here with you all talking about restorative justice. A little bit more about me. I am married. My partner, her name is Julia. She is incredibly sweet and kind. So much of who I am is because of her. We have two little dogs. Those are our children. We love them very much. Sydney and Mildred, they'll say hi throughout the different weeks as I get to say hi to each and every one of you. But also, so I also learned restorative justice in Indigenous communities from my grandmother, who was an elder in the Oneida Nation. And she taught us that we use an eagle feather. So this eagle feather box was made by my great uncle Leonard once I finished my PhD, a one of one, only one he made, which was pretty amazing. So eagle feathers, oftentimes people will use different, Sydney, come on now. Oftentimes people will use different kind of talking pieces for different situations or for different groups of people. As we talk about restorative justice in Indigenous communities, this practice, one of my colleagues, Dr. Pamela Taylor, talks about using restorative justice in the nation of Kenya in Africa, how they've been using restorative justice in talking circles. I know different religious groups like the Mennonites have used restorative justice amongst others. But for many Indigenous people, many Native American people, talking circles is a very old practice. It has origins with the Apache, Anishinaabe, Oneida, to name a few, and many others. The more I learn about it, the more I realize how little I do know, that there were over 2,000 different tribes here at the time of colonization in 1492, each with their own creation story, each with their own unique identities, each with their own unique languages. So each one being significantly different than others. Each tribe, some tribes is different with their languages as English is to Mandarin. So Native Americans or Indigenous people, I should say, are by no means a monolith, meaning they're no means just a one way to describe how to be an Indigenous person. To my understanding, In the 2020 census, there was 7.5 million Indigenous people there here in what is known as the United States in the last census. So that is one of our highest recent populated numbers. I've seen the number for Native American population before colonization as low as 1 million people, as high as there were 100 million people here. And most people will say 16 to 30 million Native Americans here at the time of colonization. I also teach American Indian Studies at Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Pavungna. They're the oldest Native American Studies program this side of the Mississippi. So very grateful for that. Got a little logo right there for them. Very grateful for that. So as we bring it all back together, so talking circles. My grandmother, she taught me when we're doing talking circles using a talking piece, our eagle feather. We use the eagle feather as it's a liaison, the eagle, between us and the spirit world. So it reminds us to be spirit filled. And it's also a reminder that whoever is holding this, it's so sacred that they cannot tell a lie. So this idea, and that whoever is listening, that you're listening as intently as you are when you're speaking. So I use eagle feathers as just a reminder for that sacred nature. I never let them touch the ground. If an eagle feather was to touch the ground, when I've seen them at powwows over the years, for instance, at the Oneida powwow in Oneida, Wisconsin, if an eagle feather was to touch the ground, from a little child, we call him a tiny tot, little kid wearing all the regalia, up into an elder, an older person, if they have any of their eagle feathers on their regalia, on their clothing, if it falls off and touches the ground, everything will stop. They clear the powwow arena. They'll bring in an elder veteran to come dance at the feather from all four directions, to go into the spirit world to see if it is safe to pick up that feather or not. And then when it is, if it is, the veteran will often pick up the feather, hold it up, everyone will cheer, and then that veteran will decide if they want to give it back to the person who dropped it, or if they want to keep it themselves because that person, they cannot, they've basically lost the privilege to this very sacred thing to hold on to. So that's why I use this. So when we're doing talking circles here, kind of each week check in, I'll probably pull out my eagle feather box and my eagle feather. So yeah, y'all want go. We're gonna be doing a thing this semester during this fall term 2 for what's called recursory learning. So using the thing to learn about the thing. So we'll be using talking circles to learn about talking circles. So I'll be introducing myself again, as I have been, but just adding on some things. And then I look forward to, if you all have a chance to make a video. If you want, you can upload it to YouTube, put it as unlisted, share it with the group. You can put it on Canvas under the assignments for the assignment 1 for introducing yourself. But let us know, a 2 to 5 minute video. Who are you? What should we know about you? What are you interested in? Where are you calling us from? What do you hope to get out of this class? What do you hope to bring to this class? So a lot of questions there. And I'll start, I hope to bring my perspective of lived experience as an Indigenous person, lived experience of using talking circles for a lot of my life growing up and being taught it from an early age from my grandmother, and from an academic perspective of someone who's gotten my PhD, written a book chapter about talking circles and used talking circles for my dissertation. So I'm also a practitioner. So I've gone to a couple different Indigenous communities. For instance, I was just in Salmon River last week, which is not too far away from Vermont Law School. I passed it on the way when I was driving from Boston. But anyways, I was at Salmon River and they had the largest Native American population for a public school in the United States. So a lot of Mohawk students there, which the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, and Tuscarora, they comprise the Haudenosaunee of 6 nations, the longest reigning democracy, to my understanding, since 1142 until this day, that once warring tribes came together, we'll learn about later in the semester, and through restorative justice, through talking circles, have peace to this day. So I got to speak with a lot of those people, teaching them about restorative justice, and now I'm teaching you all about restorative justice. So with that, I'll be passing the feather and be looking forward to hearing from you all. We also have our group me, so feel free to check in on that if you want to do quick videos or just, we'll have little what's called flash rounds. So we'll do talking circles of very quick responses or different things, and then we'll give ourselves time to speak on the video. So that is a little bit about what we're looking to do in this class for response-wise, in terms of each week, you're going to watch this video. I'll be making a weekly YouTube video. You're going to watch some of the other YouTube videos I have listed on the syllabus. You're going to do some of the readings that we have for you, and then you're going to check in on the group me. And then the last thing is I want each and every one of you each week to spend some time just paying respect to nature, paying the land. So I've been told, this book is a good resource as well too. It's called Paying the Land by Joe Sacco. Optional text here. But it's the idea when you go visit the land, when you visit it the same way you would a relative or a loved one, you might offer it water, you might offer it tea, you might offer the land tobacco or some other medicine just to put on the ground to recognize the spiritual and sacred nature of our connection to Mother Earth. I say that Prolific the rapper, I have heard said that that we are all human beings who live under the same stars, and that if the Earth is not your mother, are you from Mars? And this idea that we are all here on Mother Earth, that we're, if you're here in North America, what's considered Turtle Island, that's another word the indigenous people use for it. But I just want you all each week at some point to intentionally set aside, if it's a meditation, if it's a gratitude, if you don't have access to land or grass near you, then I would encourage you to even just have water, that recognizing that water is life, like the Nakota people say, Mini Wachoni, water is life. As I got to go briefly to the Standing Rock protest in 2016, I was there in 2017, briefly. But this idea, I want you all to pay respects to the land. I want you all to gain a relationship with the land. And every time you're visiting it each week, it's like you're visiting an old friend and gaining this new perspective. Whether it's hugging a tree, whether it's petting the grass, or whether it's laying in the grass, drinking water, recognizing that our bodies are made of 60% water, 60, that our planet is made of 70% water. Water is truly one of our first medicines, very important. So that's going to be for our 7 weeks, the main things. And then also, as I share screen here and look at our syllabus, office hours are every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern on this office hours link. So if you have any questions about that, it's a Zoom link. So feel free to hop on that if you have any questions. I'll do my best to help you out. So 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's on that link. A little bit more about our course objectives. So participation is key in this course. So it's 7 weeks long. I believe there's me plus 11 of you all in the class here. So making sure that we're all checking in with each other, doing the assignments, doing the readings, doing the videos. This class is you're going to get what you put into it. So I encourage you all to do the best you can. I'll be the best to do the best I can to help you all out asynchronously. So whether it's email or text or group me, I'll try to respond back with the best I can. But be sure to be participating in the class. That's a big part of your grade. Another part of your grade is your final presentation. It's a 7 to 10 minute video. It's due on Friday, December 10th before 11:59 p.m. So it's the topic of your choice that relates to, illuminates, and or contrasts with materials covered and discussed in the class. This can be done with or without a PowerPoint. Such topics may include a case study of a particular Indigenous nation and its restorative justice program, similar or different from one covered in class. For instance, we'll talk about the Navajo, or also known as the Dene Nation, where Chief Justice Robert Yazzie has talked about, instead of being a vertical system, which our current criminal justice system is, to move to a restorative justice system, where it's a horizontal system, whereas the idea is we're moving it where every community members have a voice in the decision-making process. And it's more of a shared, instead of being in this hierarchy such as this, it's on a horizontal basis, a horizontal system of justice, of having those voices in the community have say in how the outcome will be, and also have a say in for accountability and being sure to be and that the decisions that are made in that have follow-up and accountability as well. We'll also be talking, you can choose in your discussion to do a comparative assessment of Indigenous restorative justice practices in relation to other Indigenous restorative justice models or Western restorative justice models, or an exploration of other core subjects and materials that relate to students' work and experience in other restorative justice or professional settings. And I really do, I want this to be something that is practical for you all, whether if you want to be a restorative justice practitioner or you're just trying to just dip your toe in the water to figure out what this is like. I want you to make this class work for you, please. Make your education work for you. I want to be able to help you out as best I can. You also have an infographic due, which is 30% of your grade. And this is due before December 8th, 11:59 p.m. This is really just a 1-page minimum. If you want to go over, you can go over, then just send me your 1-page, your summary, or like kind of your key points there. This can be done in an artistic expression. This can be done in bullet points. This can be done as a paragraph or an essay format. Really, the key is I want this to be almost like your cheat sheet study guide. So when you're going in to do restorative justice, that the mindset that you're in right now, that as we prepare our hearts, our minds to do this work, that you won't forget what the things you've learned, that you'll be able to document those and share them for later. As we're talking about this, part of being an Oneida person is having a good heart, a good mind, and a strong fire. A good heart means having love for yourself, love for your community, love for your world. A good mind means being at peace. and having a generous sense of humor. And then having a strong fire is your spiritual fire, and recognizing that when you have a strong fire, you give the ability to ignite and strengthen other people's fires as well too, with your embers of your fire. Some required text you have right here, Navajo Nation Peacemaking, great book we'll be going through here. I encourage you all to check it out. A lot of different excerpts and different ideas here, talking about people talking as if they have no relatives is one of the biggest disses, I guess you could say. It's one of the worst things you could hear if you were a person in the Navajo or Dene community. That person acts as if they have no relatives. Is this idea because we are related to all things, that all of us are each other's relatives. So to recognize, they said, be careful not to act as if you have no relatives, because if you act as if you have no relatives, be careful, it may come true. But recognizing that we are all in relation, all my relatives, all my relations, we are together here, this horizontal system of justice. Also here, we have this idea of justice as healing. So I got this on the Kindle version. You can get it on whatever version that you all have access to. Let's see if I can pull it up here for us. Yeah, so it should look like this, Justice is Healing, Indigenous Ways. Another good resource here, a lot of good excerpts. So please get those books so you can follow along. Here's gonna be our course YouTube playlist. So you can follow along with that as well too. And here's an overview. So week 1, you can make sure to do the reading. This is in the announcement section of our Canvas, this book chapter here. This is one of my own here, a critical review of the Native American tradition of circle practices. So it's just getting a nice in-depth and academic take on the subject matter, while also infusing it with my own lived experience as an Indigenous person and living in Indigenous communities. We have some of the different book chapters to read here. This one from Justice is Healing, Indigenous Ways, from that first book I showed you, the second book I showed you, this one right here. So these are all the different book chapters to read here. Videos to watch. You're watching this one, well done. Then you're going to go on to talking about what is tribal sovereignty, treaties between the US government and Native nations, tribal sovereignty, the right to self-rule, and quote, the Indian problem. All right, what do you need to do here before this week is up here, before October 31st, 11:59 p.m.? You need to create a 2 to 5 minute introduction video of who you are, what you hope to get out of this class, one thing we should know about you. These are just some talking points. You can expand as much as you want. This is in the Canvas, introduce yourself to the class section. I believe it's under the assignment section, but you might see it under modules as well too. If you don't want to make a video, you can instead create a 5 to 10 sentence write-up. And then also just be sure to check in with our digital class talking circle by putting a sentence or two on our class prompt, that you'll see what the prompt is in the GroupMe. So download the GroupMe, follow along. Just a quick roadmap of where we're going. Week 2, we talk about Indigenous legal systems and models of restorative justice. Week 3, we talk about peacemaking, the case study on Indigenous restorative justice from the Navajo Nation, also known as the Dene people. Dene is the Navajo word for Navajo. Truth and reconciliation in the state child welfare system. Then going on to healing relationships with all our relatives in environmentalism. Just an overall RJ and Indigenous communities, filling in some of the things we didn't get a chance to talk about just yet. And then the final presentation, week 7. Look at that, we'll already be bringing it to a close. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Here's some optional resources for you as well too. This book, The Trial of Leonard Peltier, Rupert Ross's Returning to the Teachings, some other great books as well as in here too. The film, An Incident at Oglala, another great film as well too. So just some resources we'll talk about more as we go throughout the semester. But I just want to say Yawunko, thank you. It's such an honor to be here with you all, wherever you all are across Turtle Island, across Mother Earth, as we're doing this asynchronously. And it reminds me of this concept of time. For many Indigenous people, they view the idea of time being not just a linear idea, but circular, and kind of everything being connected through these different circles. And there's this idea that in everything, in our present moment, for us to be having this conversation, for you to be listening to this now, it's because of 7 generations behind us, that their decisions they made allowed us to be living in a way that allow us to do what we do today, to live with the luxuries we have today, to live with the privileges we have today. Is because of 7 generations ago. And the idea is, in everything you do, not to make a decision just for yourself or for your family, but to do it for 7 generations into the future. So when we're making decisions here, that we're trying to build a better world for 7 generations to come. So we have this phrase in Oneida that when we're doing our Oneida opening prayer, it says, let's put our minds together, so be it in our minds. And I had one of my co-collaborators during my dissertation, Dylan Granquist, talked about saying how he had a professor, how said that when we put our minds together, there's very few things that we cannot accomplish when with all the things that we put together, all the years of our experience, all the places we've traveled between all of us. There's a lot we can accomplish together. So with that being said, I look forward to putting our minds together. As I've been told by Sean Wilson, a Cree researcher, he says that research is ceremony. That anytime we come together and put our minds together, such as this, it is ceremony. So the two big classroom rules I have are respect and sharing. So as long as you show respect, you show sharing, you show up as best you can in this digital space asynchronously, you dive into the material, you lean into this material, you do the best you can, and you're gonna do wonderful. So with that being said, Yawanko, thank you. Ganalunqua, I love you. I don't even know you, but I'm sending love your way. In the words of DJ Fell, if ain't nobody loves you, Dr. Reed loves you. Sending love your way. So looking forward to this semester. So please take care. Let me know if you have any questions. Email me, text me, group me. But be sure to intro video, group me, and go spend 10 minutes with your friend in nature. Pay respect to the land out there, to our friend Turtle Island or Mother Earth, wherever you're at. All right, everybody. Nugiwa. Until next time in Oneida. Take care.